Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor at the Tenkar's Tavern blog. And we've got an article up on the screen, and it's talking about Dungeons and Dragons will revisit classic campaign settings. And I know that sounds exciting, right? It 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 may, but really, how exciting is it? Dungeons and Dragons' Jeremy Crawford explains why there haven't been more campaign setting specific books. Now, let's be honest with you. These campaign settings are pretty much all created back in the 2E days. These are settings that are 30 years old. What are we talking about here? Well, Dungeons and Dragons does not view the recent revivals of Spelljammer, Planescape, and other campaign settings as one shots and plans to revisit at least some of these worlds in the future. At Gen Con earlier this month, comicbook.com had the chance to speak with D&D lead rules designer Jeremy Crawford in a wide-ranging interview about the future of Dungeons and Dragons in the midst of planning for the 2024 rules revisions. By the way, this is actually important. Jeremy was at Gen Con. WotC is giving a shit now about conventions. Why is that? Because they are realizing they got to do some face-to-face meet. They got to exist in your mindset. They're going to go. They were at Gen Con. They're going to be a game hole. Oh my! Look at that! What a change. During the interview, comicbook.com asked about D&D's plans for its campaign settings, especially as Wizards of the Coast revisited. And that's the way they show it, revisited in quotation marks. Many classic settings such as Planescape, Spelljammer, and Ravenloft in recent years. Again, this is all 2E stuff. Well, although Ravenloft had its roots in 1E, but again, this isn't. There's what new settings has WotC brought to us? Well, they're going to tell us now. Our campaign setting books are very popular, Crawford said. People love the setting books that we've done, whether they're classic ones or new ones from Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering. It's not a new setting. This is a setting from Magic the Gathering, a card game that was what? Late 1990s? So, yes, you're converting the setting to D&D 5e. You're not giving these people a new setting. You are not giving, like we've had Forgotten Realms since, what was it, the end of 1e, beginning of 2e? Why have we not gotten a new setting, except for the Magic the Gathering, which is an IP that they've owned? Why are we recycling settings? I'll get some ideas on that. Crawford also stated he didn't look at the recent campaign books as one shots, and that were plans to return to many of the campaign settings in the future. By the way, notice no Greyhawk, right? We love the campaign setting books, but they're not really campaign setting books because you can't run a campaign in these books. You're getting just enough flavor to put stuff into your campaign world, but it really isn't enough to make it its own campaign. We love the campaign setting books because they help highlight just how wonderfully rich D&D is. D&D can be gothic horror, it can be fantasy in space, it can be trippy adventures in the afterlife in terms of Planescape. D&D can be classic high fantasy in the forms of Forgotten Realms. It can be sort of steampunk fantasy like an Eberron. We feel it's vital to visit these settings, to tell stories in them, and we look forward to returning to them. So we do not view these as one-shots. Again, why haven't we seen a new... Eberron was the last new setting for D&D, and Eberron was a result of a contest. Okay? Yes, Baker did well. He won the contest. But it wasn't even designed in-house. Why aren't they designing a new setting in-house? There's got to be something unique, or there's got to be a setting out there that's in the OSR or an independent setting that they figure they could invest in and make it the next setting. They don't want to do that because everything is Forgotten Realms. These new settings are just to add a little extra flavor to your Forgotten Realms game. All right, you're not going to see Greyhawk because Gary is verboten in these days, and it's a shame. Um, in fact, Crawford noted the upcoming 2024 rules revision provides more opportunities to revisit these worlds, in part because the D&D design team doesn't have to keep going back to remake certain rule systems or rule books moving forward. Remember, your old books are compatible because they're not changing the core system, but they are changing the core classes. When you change the core classes, you're changing game balance. But they always talk about game balance, but they don't really mean it. This is another boon of the rules revision. It means we can keep journeying in the multiverse. Rather than sort of having to reset the clock, the rules revisions means that we can return and do different things the next time we visit a setting. Look at it through a different angle, explore different parts of the setting, dig deeper in certain areas than we did before. If you imagine 5th edition as a D&D campaign, it means the campaign can keep going. So we're going to get to high level and see things that we haven't seen before. By the way, my opinion as to why they regurgitate old settings, I'm not complaining. I like these old settings. I own the originals from the 2E days. And they're not apparently Birthright's not even in the list here, is it? But I firmly believe the reason why they regurgitate the old settings is not just a lack of creativity on their part, although that's a huge aspect to it. It's that if something comes up, as we saw in Spelljammer, that is suddenly offensive, that somehow makes it past the, I don't know, the culturally aware editors, and this is offensive now, although it wasn't offensive then, they can blame it on old WotC or old TSR. The funny thing is, they tried doing that with the Planescape stuff, and it wound up the revision that made the stuff offensive was done under WotC and under the WotC Watchful Eyes. So, again, it shows you that there's a lack of creativity at Wizards of the Coast. Creating a new setting would be spot on awesome. There's so much you could do, so much you could spark, but they're afraid to do it because if they create something new, they have to own it. And the moment you have to own something, you're at risk. And that's why, in my opinion, we don't see new settings from anybody at WotC. But maybe you think I'm wrong. Maybe you think I'm full of shite. Let me know. Also, complete side note, I am trying to get Temple of Elemental Evil to work on my Mac using Crossover, using the download from GOG. So if you are a Mac gamer, you've gotten this thing to install, I'd love to hear how you did it. I know Baldur's Gate's all the rave. Baldur's Gate 3. Temple of Elemental Evil is one that I missed only because it was very buggy at release 20 years ago. But I've heard the revisions and the Circle of 8 fan mod apparently fixes all that crap. So I'd like to go back and experience what I consider to be one of the finer, I mean, not technically a mega dungeon, but one of the finer campaigns in the world of Greyhawk, Temple of Elemental Evil. So, if you can help me, please ping me on social media. Email me at tankars.tavern@gmail.com or add a comment here. So, other than that, the usual, you know what? I know some people get offended by it, but subscribe, like, comment. it helps. It helps the channel and helps the algorithm, and I do appreciate it. And let me know how you're enjoying the new backgrounds. They're really old backgrounds I paid for a while for the blog, but I figured I should start rotating them into the videos. This is more of a science fiction one, but hey, let me get you a better shot of that. Hold on a second. So there you go. The science fiction Tenkar's Tavern. It's actually pretty well done. I do like it. All right, folks. As usual, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll this dice, roll them well. I'll be back again tomorrow with another video. I'll catch you later. God bless.